a year ago now, almost a year. We're in December. This happened in January. Margarita, my lovely fiance, my bride to be, is the more spiritual element of our 1-2 combo. I'm very scientific. I look for the formulas and everything. I look for the patterns. I look for the scientific evidence sometimes. Just seeing a pattern is scientific evidence, in my opinion. But my lovely bride to be, she is far more spiritual than I am. And it's a great cohesive thing we have going on here because she can help me see the more feminine side of things and I can help her see the masculine side of things. So although we may see things a little bit differently, we always come back to the same conclusion. Everything is happening through you, not to you. You are creating your own universe. I don't get readings done anymore. Um, I had a wonderful read that played out that many of you um, that are members of this or they're hearing this now. I'm pretty sure everybody's already heard this story if you're a member of the community. But I go within for all my answers now. I know how to read myself, but this wasn't necessarily a tarot read. This was some type of energetic reading. I have no idea to this day what this woman was, how she did it, but everything she said was accurate. And one of the things that she said, um, she was able to read that I did a lot of work. She knew that from an energetic standpoint. And you guys know that. I've talked about my story dozens of times, not because I'm obsessed with it, but because I believe it can help somebody. It can help. I mean, clearly it's helping people. It's helping tens of thousands of people and hundreds of thousands more to come in the future. But my story is my attempt, my intention to be transparent and to show you that if I can do it, you can do it. You know, I'm your guide. I'm your Morpheus. You're Neo. I'm your Morpheus to help you get there. So naturally, I'm going to tell you what Morpheus went through to become Morpheus, right? So back to the story. She said, everything's fine. Everything's fine. Breath work. And I'm like, what? Breath work? What's a breath work? This is back in January, y'all. This is back in January where I'm maybe 200 subscribers in, which is actually pretty phenomenal from a statistical standpoint. That's kind of a word I messed up on. Statistical. There we go. From a stat standpoint, that's actually pretty good in YouTube standards. But with me, I'm shooting for the moon, so that's just a start. But I was very grateful for those 140, 200 people. And she said, breath work. That's where he's gonna go, and that's where that's where he's gonna go. And I'll continue to tell that story as it plays out, but I'll stop there. That was the inspiration behind this episode. Uh, we had this talk almost a year ago, so it wasn't like I held on to that. I had no idea what the lady was talking about, but now I do. Um, Maybe about a few weeks ago, um, I fall asleep to audiobooks. That's my obsession, to fall asleep to audiobooks to see if I can remember something or see if it triggers something. So when I was getting ready to go to bed, I was going to either listen to the audiobook of The Science of Getting Rich, wonderful book, or I was going to listen to The Power of the Subconscious Mind by Joseph Murphy again, or I was going to listen to a Carl Jung book, Synchronicity, because it's a heavy read and I wanted to understand it even better. Instead, I said, no, I'm not going to listen to those. I'm going to listen to something new. And I came across the Hindu yogi Science of Breath. And I said, damn, that's a name. So why not? So I fell asleep to it. When I woke up in the morning, I had an understanding about our breath that I never had before. So I made a comment to Margarita and she started jumping up and down. I was like, what? And she brought up the reading that I forgot about. So here we are. Breath work. And hats off to you. Hats off to the entire community. Because as soon as I mentioned this, so many people were already tapped into this. So many people got excited. And that's how I know this is the right path. Many of you already are into this. So we're going to take it further. We're going to master this. We're going to incorporate this into everything, because the thing that sort of pisses me off about the law of assumption YouTube community, I'm not even going to talk about Twitter. That's a whole different thing. The thing that sort of pisses me off is that it's making Neville's work dogmatic, you know? And not that Neville's work is not a complete guide of getting what you want, but Neville learned from other great books. He learned from the Kabbalah. He learned from Hermetic principles. He learned from the Hebrew Bible, and then he remixed it. He didn't create the law. He remixed his version of it. The law of assumption is not a foundation of all the other things. The other things are the foundation of the law of assumption, right? But many of us who come into the law of assumption use that as our foundation to learn the other things. That's the way I see it. That's the way I teach it. The law of assumption helped me to understand the other ones, but they all are cohesive. And these other ones came thousands of years before Neville graced us with his glorious presence. But there are a lot of people out there that's dogmatic, and all they talk about is Neville's work, as if Neville was, like he was proclaiming he was God. He was telling us that, yo, it's your imagination. And I stand by that to this day. It is your imagination. However, if you don't have a strong imagination, if you have a strong imagination and things still aren't working, if you have a strong imagination and things are working sometimes, but not all the time, there are tools to help you get there. And one of those is breath work. Another is shadow work, but we'll get into that another day. These things led me to the law. So why would something be wrong with them? You know, I'm always going to push back on that. Don't make these things your God. Don't make these things the ruler of your reality. Don't make these things, if I don't do this right, it's not going to work. No, don't ever do that. Don't make the techniques your God either, right? Don't make Neville your God. Don't make his books your God. But use the tools to make things a little bit easier. Yeah, you can go and, peel a potato with your bare hands, but there's a peeler right there. You can use that. So look at these tools that we have. Breath work, shadow work. Look at all these things to make the process easier. Not that, if we talk about this, that's not Neville. That's not law of assumption. You're getting a little bit too close to being a religion now, And we all know that, and shout out to all the religions. I think they all are saying the same thing. They all are the same path. They all are different paths to the same God, and that's you. That is you, because we are all fractal pieces of the same God, right? So they're all saying that. All the great books are saying that, right? So use the tools. Make it easy on yourself. You don't have to peel the sweet potato with your bare hands, baby. Soak it a little bit. Get the peeler out. Make your life a lot easier. Breath work. You breathe all I was just so fascinated. I'm like, wow. The first thing you do when you enter into this world is breathe. The last thing you do is breathe. I've been breathing well my entire life, but now I'm going to breathe even better with what I know and what I'm going to teach you guys. But I've been breathing well my entire life because I was a runner. And I had a knack for it. And I was good with it. And I mentioned this in the episode. I was an avid runner and I was great at it. And people are like, oh, you skinny. That's why I was super skinny back then. I gained a lot of weight since then. Well, I've gained a lot of muscle since then. I'm still a slender guy, but I was super skinny. And I could run like the wind. But people attributed to my skinniness when really it was my breath. It was my breath. I just had a knack for understanding the rhythm of running. I would see people and I'm like, why are they breathing like that? I would breathe like that, running as fast as I can with a pace, making sure my breath was calm. I'm filling my lungs. When you start to, and your body starts reacting and gets slower. So when you're breathing, you're delivering the proper oxygen. Especially you're breathing through your nose, you're getting all of that oxygen. Whereas if you breathe through your mouth, you're only getting 30% of it, or rather you're losing 30% of it, The Hindu yogi science of breath, that gentleman does not like people who breathe through their mouth. And he made his point loud and clear. He was like, "You disgusting mouth breathers. You with your diseases and all." So he drove that point home, and it rang loud and clear. I've been catching myself. I breathe through my mouth in the gym. If I do it in the shower, and it's not like you can never do it again, but it just makes you mindful. And I noticed something. Before I did this episode, I test everything out. And so for a few weeks, I've been being very mindful about my breath. I'm still working on it with my speaking because my mouth is already open when I'm doing live streams, when I'm doing this podcast, when I'm doing episodes. So it's just naturally for me to breathe through my mouth, but I'm working on it. With that being said, I've been being very mindful with my breath as I walk the dog, for instance. First thing in the morning, take deep breaths. As we continue to expand this brand to the masses, because I have a feeling, I have an inkling, I have a vision that taking on these topics is going to expand our community more rapidly than I can even imagine. Because there are more people that are looking up how to breathe correctly than they are a law of assumption, a Neville God. They don't know who that is. We can introduce them to Neville's work, to Joseph Murphy, to Florence Scovel Shinn. But first, let's get down our breathing because we have to do that. The techniques don't matter if you out here, you can't breathe right. Breathing incorrectly brings in a host of different diseases, and it makes so much sense. And Neville himself, going back to what he said, something that's never quite covered out there in the algorithm is that Neville said every disease comes from an emotional state. And the best way to regulate your emotional state is through your breath. So do it. I brought up a lot of pop culture references, but I'm a huge anime head. And those of you that are listening, Demon Slayer, One Piece, Hero Academy, Hunter x Hunter, like all these classics. I'm an anime nerd, so if you don't know what I'm talking about, just disregard. But if you do, tap in. But back to the people who don't, The Matrix. Look at these movies and think how important breath is. Watch what characters are doing when they are winning, when they are triumphant, when the protagonist is prevailing at the end. They're calm, they're breathing in. Maybe the villain in the movie's backpedaling, trying to win against the protagonist in the very end, and he's panicking, breathing in, and the protagonist is breathing, calm, smooth, gives the one-liner, end of the movie, But you think back at these protagonists that we've admired in film and in TV, even in our books, but, when the books become TV, rather, and when they have their triumphant moments, they're typically calm. It's never really erratic and things of that nature. So even in pop culture, breath is life. It's very important. And one day I'm going to do an episode about water too, because you need water. You need that. If you walking around here dehydrated, it's a wrap. Good luck on living in the end if you can't stop having headaches. You know what I'm saying? As I get ready to end this podcast, I've already started writing the self-concept course, and for my school people, that's going to be a part of it. Breath work, water, I'm going to tell you now, before I get into anything, we're going to get the vessel together, because the vessel houses the brain and the brain houses the mind. How can we control our thoughts and everything else is chaotic? It doesn't mean that you can't manifest the things that you want until you get these things in order. What it means is that it will be much easier. And my mission in life is not only to teach y'all, is not only to guide you, it's to make it easier for you. I don't want it to take you 4 years to manifest your significant person. I don't want you to struggle. I don't want you to have to go through the trial and error. Whoever's listening to this, I love you that much. I have that much love for my community. I don't want you to struggle. I struggle so you don't have to. I crawled so you can run, So part of that is making it easier for you. So when we're going to open up the self-concept course, before I get into a whole bunch of stuff about the SP, Before I get into a whole bunch of stuff about the money, we're gonna get you right. We're gonna get your breathing right. We're gonna get your water intake right. And now you're gonna be operating at 100%. If you are feeling good, if you are feeling light on your feet, I just came back from the gym. If you are feeling light on your feet, if you are feeling good, if your thoughts are clear, now when you come up against something in your 3D that hasn't quite transitioned yet, and you have to persist, it is going to be second nature. It is going to be okay. But if you walk around here with headaches, if you're walking around here with migraines, if you're walking around here with toothaches, if you're walking around here not breathing right and getting sick every other week, how are we going to get there? How are we going to get there to the how are we going to get to the path of least resistance? You know? So that is a part of the self-concept course. I'm writing it as we speak. Well, not as we speak. I'm actually recording this, but when I get done chopping this up, it's off to that because that is why it took so long. I didn't know. I kept saying, I'm gonna write the course. I'm gonna write the course. I'm gonna film it. But something in the back of my mind kept saying, I don't have the pieces yet. I can get in here and I can talk about everyone that you pushed out till my face falls off. But there's something else to it that I want to bring to the community that nobody else is. And it's these pillars, these things that help you get through. Yeah, living in the end, but what do I do when I'm having a panic attack now? Boom. Yeah, living in the wish fulfilled. But what do I do when I see the exact opposite? What do I do when fear has taken over me? And now here nor there is giving you the tools. Here nor there is giving you the tools to succeed, and succeed you will. You are neither here nor there. Thank you for your time.